Joel and I recently marked our 20th anniversary, celebrating with our daughters Jasmine, 16, Casey, 13, and our 15-year-old son Jake. I'm Joel, a content 42-year-old dad and husband. Lissa, my wife and my only love since her 20s, is a charming blonde with blue eyes, standing at 5'6" and weighing 105 loaves. Together, we've crafted a wonderful life, always prioritizing our kids in a loving home. Our family has bonded over various experiences, from joyful moments like birthdays and school events to tougher times, including Jake's football injuries, the girls' soccer mishaps, and Lissa's battle with cancer 7 years ago. Her recovery strengthened our bond. Managing finances and raising 3 kids posed challenges, leading us to prioritize our children's future over personal appearance. Despite working in production management and Lissa in purchasing, our routine life never let our relationship or intimacy suffer. Then, 4 years before Maria and Roger, a lively young couple in their late 20s, moved into our neighborhood, we faced a turning point. Maria, a gym instructor, encouraged Lissa to join her, leading to a significant transformation. At 38, Lissa, who had gained some weight, followed Maria's guidance, shedding extra pounds by the time she neared 40. I'd always complimented her newfound beauty, and Lissa's increased confidence and energy positively impacted our intimate life. Inspired by Maria, Lissa updated her wardrobe with more stylish and revealing outfits. Though initially uneasy about her fashionable work attire, I organized a stunning 40th birthday party for Lissa, where she looked chic and received admiration from other men. Despite feeling uncomfortable watching her flirt and dance, I decided to let her enjoy the celebration. Later that night, after expressing my feelings, Lissa apologized, explaining she got carried away in the excitement and drinks. She reassured me, expressed her love, and made up for it in bed, showing her gratitude in a special way. Despite returning to a normal routine, Lissa started coming home late due to gym sessions, but I made sure to be there for the kids and have dinner ready on those evenings. When Lissa started coming home late, she took over Thursday pickups for our son Jake, who had a club after school. Despite Jake's reluctance to be picked up, I insisted for safety reasons. However, one week, Lissa forgot to pick him up, and Jake ended up walking home after waiting for 40 minutes. It was a rare occasion where the family saw me upset. Lissa felt apologetic, and I made it clear how I felt. After cooling off, I accepted it as a mistake, and everything returned to normal. She made it up to me in bed that night. About 2 months later, I noticed a decline in our intimacy from 4 to 5 nights per week to once or twice. Lissa became more self-indulgent, focusing on her appearance with frequent facials and maintaining her hair and nails. As she approached 40, it seemed she was determined to reverse the aging process. Our closet filled with new clothes, and when I voiced concerns about her spending, she reacted angrily, stating it was for me. Despite her efforts, I was unsatisfied with our intimate life. I decided to plan a weekend getaway to reconnect. I made dinner reservations and arranged for her parents to look after the kids. However, when I informed her of the plans during a romantic meal, she was preoccupied with an extravagant outfit for work. This left me wondering if I would ever see the old Lissa again. Struggling with this new version of her, I hoped our getaway would help us rekindle our connection. Unfortunately, events that week put our plans on hold. It was Thursday afternoon around 4:00 p.m. During a staff meeting, I received a call from the hospital informing me that Jake, our son, was in the emergency room and needed immediate surgery. Despite being in the middle of a presentation, I rushed to my car and sped to the hospital, which was approximately 15 minutes away. Attempting to call Lissa multiple times, I'd also reached out to her parents to pick up our daughters and join us at the hospital. Lissa was unresponsive, and at the hospital, I handled paperwork, met with doctors, and had a short visit with Jake, who had a broken leg, cuts, and bruises. Tears welled up as he was wheeled into the operating room. Concerned about Lissa, I reunited with my daughters and Lissa's parents in the waiting room, sharing that Lissa was missing. We pieced together that Jake had decided to walk home as Lisa hadn't picked him up. Desperate to find Lisa, I called her office, learning she hadn't been seen since her lunch break. She had lunch with Mr. Donnie, a sales representative, according to her colleague. I requested Mr. Donnie's contact information and tried calling him but got no answer. Feeling stressed and overwhelmed, I discovered a tracking app on Jasmine's phone, revealing Lisa's location at a downtown hotel. Despite the potential consequences for our marriage, I called the hotel, asking to be connected to Mr. Donnie's room. After some frustration, he answered, denying Lisa's presence. In a firm tone, I warned him about our son's critical condition and demanded to speak with Lisa urgently. When she came on the phone, I informed her about Jake's accident and instructed her to come to the hospital immediately. The call ended abruptly, and in that intense moment, I realized my family had been listening. Overwhelmed with emotions and the discovery of Lisa's involvement with someone else, I couldn't hold back tears, revealing my vulnerability for the first time in front of my family. Overwhelmed by the pain of Jake's accident and the realization of my wife's betrayal, I found myself on my knees sobbing. My children hugged me tightly, sharing their tears, while Maria and Roger, our neighbors, witnessed the heart-wrenching scene. Regaining my composure, I kissed my girls, wiped away my tears, and addressed everyone. I apologized for the emotional outburst, explaining that I lost control when I answered the phone. I shared that it seemed Lisa had spent the afternoon with a coworker and forgotten to pick up Jacob. Assuring them that she would likely arrive soon, I requested they keep her away from me due to my uncertain reaction. Mary, Lisa's mother, expressed anger and disappointment. Jasmine tearfully asked if her mom was cheating on me, and I replied that it seemed that way. I urged them to focus on praying for Jake and said we could address the situation with Lisa later. Lisa entered the surgical waiting room about 20 minutes later, greeted by her mother's harsh slap. Mary's tears reflected her disappointment, declaring Lisa's actions a disgrace. Jasmine angrily expressed her hatred for her mother. In the midst of the chaos, Lisa glanced at me, but seeing my expression, she turned away and sat alone. Waiting anxiously for updates on Jake's condition, a doctor arrived to explain his injuries, including broken bones and a punctured lung. The family agreed to donate blood for Jake's transfusion. Glancing at Lisa, I couldn't help but comment on her disheveled appearance, pointing out the signs of her rushed exit from a hotel room. My comment sparked Lisa's response, denying the presence of a boyfriend and claiming she only loved me. I confronted her about the rejection of intimacy and questioned her motives. I suggested she go home, freshen up, and return looking presentable, saving discussions of betrayal and divorce for a more appropriate time. Lisa pleaded against divorce, expressing her love. I assured her we would talk about our future, but not in the midst of Jake's critical condition. I cannot invest my energy in you right now. My focus is on Jake, not the impact of your actions on our family. Please go home and freshen up. If you can't drive, I'll arrange for your dad or someone else to take you. Jake won't be out of surgery for a while, and you should be here when he wakes up. She stood up, tears still falling, apologized, and left. About 2 hours later, Lisa returned with no makeup, her hair in a ponytail, dressed in jeans and a sweater. She had stopped crying but still looked worn out from the emotional turmoil. She sat with her parents, and our girls stayed by my side. I spoke to my daughters, emphasizing the importance of not harboring resentment towards their mother. I explained that conversations about the situation could happen later, but for now, we needed to come together as a family. For the next 2 days, we took turns keeping vigil for Jake, who remained in a medically induced coma. Finally, on the 3rd day, we received positive news from the doctors that Jake was going to be okay. He would need to stay in the hospital for a while, but he should be able to go home in about a week. We all cried tears of relief and embraced each other. Lisa tried to approach me, but I kept my distance. As we rotated staying at the hospital, there were no sleeping arrangements for Lisa and me. However, on the 3rd day, I communicated my intentions regarding our living situation. With Jake on the path to recovery, I informed Lisa that I would be sleeping at home again. I made it clear that I didn't want her in my bed, and given her involvement with others, I believed it was fair for her to move her belongings into the guest room. She cried and professed her love, asking me not to kick her out. I told her that for the time being, until Jake fully recovers, there is no less. She remains the mother of our children, and we will need her help with Jake's recovery. However, as far as I'm concerned, she and I are no longer a couple. Our daughters understood, and we all agreed not to let Jake know what was happening until he was well into his recovery. I transformed our living room into Jake's recovery space, rented a hospital bed and wheelchair, hired a daytime nurse, and prepared for his return home. With our secret kept, Jake wouldn't be aware of our sleeping arrangements. Regarding the vehicle that struck Jake, it turned out to be a driver for a paint company. The police investigation revealed that the driver had been vaping, texting on his phone, and was under the influence at the time of the incident. Our lawsuit gained attention, and the company offered us a substantial settlement to avoid higher punitive damages from a jury. While this didn't ease our anger and grief, it provided means for the best medical treatments for Jake, covered the kids' college expenses, and allowed me to take a hiatus from my job to be there for Jake during his 18-month recovery. My wife and our daughters all played a role in Jake's recovery. When Jake was released from the hospital, we brought him home to a new room complete with a hospital bed, a TV remote, and his video games to make him as comfortable as possible during his rehabilitation. Several day nurses assisted us during this period, which turned out to be a blessing. Myriad and Roger came over daily to help, and together with our daughters, we adapted to the new normal. Roger and I spent a lot of time discussing my plans, while her parents suggested counseling to try to keep our family together. I expressed that I wasn't ready and wanted to continue focusing on helping Jake through this challenging time. Lisa and I only communicated when we were together with Jake. Sensing that something was wrong, Jake asked me about the situation and if I could forgive her. He reminded me that Mom loves him and that he could see she was hurting. I wiped away a tear and told him that their parents' issues were not his concern and that he should concentrate on getting better. That moment made me realize I needed to confront the situation and make some decisions. I informed Lisa that we were going out to dinner on Friday night to have a conversation. Maria and Roger took care of the kids that evening. We went to our favorite Italian restaurant, and after a few drinks, I decided it was time to talk. I asked the waiter to give us some time before we ordered. It was the first time since the accident that I had spoken directly to Lisa. Until that night, I had only responded to questions or participated in conversations. For the first time since the accident, I spoke directly to Lisa about our future together. I said, "Lisa, I understand it's been tough for you, and it's not fair that you're in the guest room. Since the accident, I haven't had a chance to think about our future. But over the past few days, I have come up with a solution to alleviate the stress the family is experiencing due to our situation. I'll look for an apartment near the house, and you can move back into the master bedroom once Jake is on his feet. I'll begin the divorce process. I want to wait until he's better before he learns the full reason for our separation." A tear fell from her eye, and I felt like a boy who had just lost his best friend. As I held back my own tears for the loss, all the years of love I had for this woman were tarnished by one selfish act, and now both of us were paying for her actions. She asked if there was any way I could forgive her and let her back into my life. I responded, "Lisa, I love you, and I probably always will. Aside from Jake's accident, losing you has been the hardest thing I've ever faced. I just don't see a way back. Your selfish choice to put your boyfriend before our family and betray my love is something I'm not sure I can ever get over. Our son Jake nearly lost his life because you chose to be with Donnie. Take a moment to consider my perspective on this." She asked me not to mention his name and admitted that she has despised herself since that day, recognizing that she messed up badly and doesn't deserve anything from me or our daughters. She wondered if there was anything she could do to make amends. I replied that I doubted it, given that as far as I knew, she hadn't taken any steps to resolve the situation. which seemed to indicate her lack of genuine concern. I added that once our divorce was finalized, she could pursue her relationship with her boyfriend or anyone else with her new appearance and charm. She could likely attract any man she desired. She acknowledged this but emphasized that since the accident, she had been trying to support Jake and had attempted not to dwell on what she had done to me. She implored me to consider giving her another chance. I responded, "Do as you wish, Lisa. I'm not making any promises. I'll wait a few weeks before I begin searching for an apartment. However, I must admit that when I reflect on the months leading up to the accident, the way you treated me, the lack of intimacy, and your self-centeredness, I can't help but believe that you genuinely don't care. I was by your side during illness and idolized you. Yet you discarded all that love as if it were trash, handing over what was once mine to another man, allowing him to exploit you. And who knows what else transpired between you two. I'm not sure how I can move past that. Lisa, tell me, how long were you involved with Donnie before that day?" She confessed that she had never been with him before that incident, and that it had only happened once, insisting there was no one else. I clarified that her response didn't address my question about the duration of her relationship with Donnie. It was evident that they had made plans before that day. I speculated that they might have had lunches, after-hours drinks, exchanged special text messages, or even emails. I asked if I would discover evidence of a relationship if I checked her phone's text messages or emails. I explained to her that an affair involves more than just physical intimacy. It encompasses emotional involvement and attention given to another person. I urged her to be honest. She finally admitted that it began about 3 months before the accident, right before her 40th birthday. She mentioned feeling old, but when Donnie learned she was turning 40, he began complimenting her and making her feel young and desirable. She knew it was wrong but couldn't deny that she enjoyed the attention from a younger man. She mentioned that she began to feel attractive again, and his constant flirtations contributed to this. She admitted that after 20 years of being with only me, she suddenly felt like a schoolgirl. Donnie persistently asked her out to dinner, and his continued flirting made her feel even more desirable. On the day of the incident, he took her to lunch but surprised her by taking her straight to his hotel room, suggesting they order room service. It didn't take long for him to seduce her, and she's been regretting her actions every moment since. She emphasized that it was a one-time mistake and vowed never to repeat such behavior. In response, I reminded her of her enjoyment of dancing and flirting with younger guys at her birthday party. I mentioned our previous conversation about it and acknowledged that since she started going to the gym with Maria, she had undergone changes. I expressed my dissatisfaction with the new version of Lisa and what she had become. I understood her desire to feel youthful, have excitement in her life, or seek more than I could offer. But I wished she had communicated her feelings with me instead of seeking something outside our marriage. I didn't want to live with a partner who made me feel like I had to compete with younger men or that she was engaging in secretive activities. My confidence, myself, our marriage, the trust I had in her, and our life together had all been eroded. I conveyed my uncertainty about whether anything could be done to mend our relationship. After our conversation, we ate in silence, both processing the discussion, and returned home. Roger seemed hopeful, but I shook my head and thanked him for looking after the kids. When we entered the house, Maria noticed Lisa's tears and realized that nothing had changed. At least we had made an effort. A month later, Lisa surprised me by making dinner reservations and taking charge of the conversation. She acknowledged that I had been right about everything, admitting that for the past 2 years, she had moved on without me and had only focused on herself while trying to improve her physical shape. She acknowledged that what she had done was unforgivable and couldn't be undone or changed. She informed me that she had been seeing a therapist to help her deal with the guilt from her actions. She described how every night she had cried for hours, reflecting on how close she had come to losing our son and damaging the man she loved. Her therapist had been instrumental in helping her understand the pain her selfish actions had caused and how she had hurt me in the worst way possible. She also mentioned that the therapist had provided some insights into her poor choices. She explained that her actions had been a cry for attention or possibly a midlife crisis, but I disagreed with her and took complete responsibility for my own mistakes. I acknowledged that I had messed up, made poor choices, and had convinced myself that I deserved to enjoy my newfound youth. After putting in so much effort to look good initially, my intention was just to get in shape. But as I shed the extra weight, I started receiving a lot of attention from men. This newfound attention made me feel youthful, attractive, and desirable, which was particularly impactful as I approached my 40th birthday. As she spoke, it was evident that she was struggling to hold herself together, and I sat in silence, allowing her to continue. She admitted that what was truly baffling was that she had loved our life, our children, and our marriage. She had never contemplated hurting me or being unfaithful, yet that's precisely what had happened. It began innocently with flirting, some of which you witnessed at my birthday party. Though I had dismissed your concerns, then came the lunches and more flirting until I ultimately allowed myself to make a terrible mistake during a meaningless afternoon of sex. I despise myself for what I did, and I now realize that it's not reflective of who I truly am. I want you to understand how deeply sorry I am for the pain I've caused you and the damage I've inflicted upon our son. I carry an immense burden of guilt and suffering each day. My actions were entirely selfish, driven by my own desires, and I wasn't considering the consequences for our love and marriage. What I'm sharing with you isn't an excuse, and I don't expect your forgiveness because I violated our vows, betrayed your trust and affection. I'll accept it if you decide you want the worst for me. In light of what I've done, though it will sadden me, ultimately, I want you to be happy and with someone you can trust. In the meantime, I'm committed to making an effort to win you back, Joel. During our last dinner, you pointed out that I hadn't taken any steps to salvage our marriage, and I confessed that I had been so preoccupied with our son's well-being that I didn't know how to save us. Since that moment, I've spent the past month working to demonstrate what I've done to try and bring you back. She maintained her composure and spoke with a serious tone, outlining her plan. First and foremost, she revealed that she had submitted her resignation and intended to become a stay-at-home mom. She planned to care for Jake full-time, eliminating the need for day nurses. She had also informed her boss, Mr. Khan, about her affair with the supplier. Given the supplier's standing in the community and church, while she was with her boss, he had called the supplier and conveyed that they would sever their business relationship unless they immediately terminated Donnie. It turns out that our company is their largest customer, and a significant portion of their revenue depends on our business. Before we went out tonight, I discovered that we weren't the first ones to complain, and Donnie had indeed been fired. Following that, I visited Donnie's wife, Patricia, and extended my apologies for our actions. When I recounted the entire story and my efforts to mend things with you, the only man I've ever loved, I broke down in tears. Patricia responded with more kindness than I would have expected, possibly understanding the guilt and remorse I was experiencing. She tried to console me and mentioned that it wasn't entirely my fault, as Donnie had a reputation as a womanizer with a knack for seducing women. However, she also admonished me not to disrespect the man I love ever again. She wished me luck in reconciling with you and mentioned that while this wasn't the first time something like this had happened, it would certainly be the last. I got the sense that she might be seeking legal advice. After leaving Patricia, I called Maria and informed her that I was discontinuing my gym membership. I also planned to continue with therapy. I had come to the realization that I'm a mature woman with a family that relies on me, and if given the opportunity, I'm determined to be the best mom and wife I can be. Additionally, I decided to give away all of my new clothes, retaining only a few items more suitable for someone of my age. Continuing her narrative, she mentioned that she had been researching articles about affairs over the past few weeks. She had even read stories where wives subjected themselves to polygraph tests to answer all the questions their husbands had. She found that there were approximately 20 common questions that needed answers. Consequently, she made an appointment last week and visited an office downtown that specialized in lie detector exams. They considered her questions unorthodox and not typical, but agreed to incorporate them randomly with their regular questions. She provided them with the list of questions she knew you must have been pondering and answered them truthfully in a desperate tone. She explained, "This envelope contains the answers to your questions. I want you to know that I haven't opened it or looked at the results. I'm confident in what's true, and I believe these results will confirm my honesty. I'm even willing to undergo regular testing every few months to demonstrate how much I love you and that you can trust me again." I also consulted with an attorney and requested her to draft a post-nuptial agreement as a way to demonstrate my seriousness in trying to regain your trust. This post-nuptial agreement stipulates that if I were to make the same mistake again, I would willingly forfeit custody of our children and vacate our home without seeking any support or alimony. I've learned that this is a common practice for individuals who have cheated like me. Yes, I acknowledge what I've done, and I've come to terms with the label, no matter how tarnished it may make me feel. I'm aware that I have a lot of amends to make, and I promise to prioritize you above all else. You'll find the postnuptial agreement along with the polygraph test results in the envelope. I was taken aback by her actions and her revelations about what she had done. My wife recognized the impact on our family and our marriage. I asked, "Well, Lisa, I must admit I'm surprised by your efforts. It certainly gives me something to ponder. But I have one pressing question. Why are you so determined to salvage this marriage? You've clearly lost respect for me as your husband and are seeking something else. With your looks and physique, you can have any man you desire. You need to be honest with yourself and contemplate why you want to remain with me, an overweight middle-aged man. Given your feelings towards me, I can't comprehend why you'd want me now. My suspicion is that you feel guilty about being caught and want forgiveness to alleviate that guilt." "No, that's not it," she responded. "I want us to get back together because I love you. You were there for me when I was ill, took care of me, nursed me back to health, and never once complained. All those years, your love has always been unwavering. I took it all for granted, and now I realize how precious that love truly is. There's no one else I desire, and I can't even envision being with someone else. It has always been you, and I squandered it. Honestly, you've always fulfilled my needs sexually, and you've always made me happy. I just took everything for granted, and I stopped thinking about anyone else but myself. And that will never happen again." As she sat sobbing uncontrollably in the restaurant, her cries growing more intense, we began to attract the attention of other patrons. I went over to her, put my arms around her, and held her close as she wept into my shoulder. My heart ached from witnessing her pain, and I wasn't certain how much more of these emotional roller coasters I could endure. After she calmed down, she handed me an envelope and told me to read the contents later when I was alone in bed. It certainly piqued my curiosity, and I wondered what revelations awaited me upon arriving home. And just before we pulled into the driveway, she gazed at me with the saddest eyes I had ever seen and said, "Please don't leave us, Joel. Don't move out of our home. I'm willing to stay in the guest room if you don't want me in your bed. I understand why you wouldn't want me there because if I were in your shoes, I feel the same way. I comprehend, and I'll be there for as long as you want. I just want to be with you and reunite our family. Please don't abandon us. I understand you may never forgive me, but I'm asking for a chance to win back your love once more." Once in my room, I took a shower, brushed my teeth, got into bed, and stared at the manila envelope, pondering what revelations it held. Would it make any difference? Did I even want her back after everything that had unfolded? Would I dare to open the file? Those questions swirled in my mind. Opening the envelope, I was taken aback by the level of detail contained in the polygraph test report. I examined all the questions, responses, data, and the summary. Evidently, she had put in considerable effort, as all the questions that had plagued my thoughts were now addressed and in my hands. Uncertain if I was truly prepared, I was about to uncover the truth. The questions appeared to be scrambled and presented out of sequence, perhaps intentionally designed to prevent her from anticipating the next inquiry. It was apparent from the questions that Lisa herself had crafted them, as they didn't adhere to the typical format of a polygraph test. Reading her answers, I slept soundly that night, still uncertain about my future, but somewhat relieved by the answers to those pressing questions. The following morning, I approached Lisa's room and requested her presence at a family meeting. Lisa appeared worn out, bearing bags under her drowsy eyes, clearly tormented by stress and tears. Due to the family's coldness, her life had become a living nightmare. Strangely, the only person who continued to speak to her and had forgiven her was Jake, our son, who was enduring the most hardship. He was the first to extend forgiveness to his mother. This marked our initial family meeting since the incident, and Lisa seemed apprehensive as she sat alone on the couch. I walked over, took a seat beside her, and held her hand, fully aware that this would be a challenging conversation. I began, "I'll speak on behalf of all of us, Lisa. What you've done has inflicted harm upon this family and left me with one of the most agonizing decisions of my life. You might not approve of my choice, but it's the only way I can preserve my self-respect as a man. The kids have expressed their wishes, desiring to keep our family intact. Until last night, I couldn't envision a scenario in which I wouldn't leave you and find a new apartment. Yet, after reading the polygraph report and witnessing your efforts to salvage our marriage over the past month, you surprised me. Your cheating was a devastating blow, but the true damage stemmed from the way you treated me and the family over the last 6 months. When I discovered that you had mentally checked out and were involved with another man, I was certain I wanted a divorce to end our marriage. In addition to the pain this caused, I was incensed because your infidelity played a part in Jake's injuries, making it unforgivable. After careful consideration, I genuinely believed that if the roles were reversed, and I had an affair that resulted in Jake's accident, there would be no room for discussion, and you would have already shown me the door. However, for some inexplicable reason, I still hold love for you, and the prospect of losing you will inflict even more agony than the pain you've already caused me. It's a conundrum, but my affection for you remains unwavering. Despite the wishes of those around us, I cannot continue in this marriage, knowing that you've betrayed my trust, shattered your commitment to fidelity, and violated our marital vows. By staying married to you, I'd essentially be condoning your actions, and as much as it might sound harsh, I've made the firm decision to proceed with a divorce. So that's the extent of what I needed to convey to her. She was devastated, but she grasped that my mind was firmly made up, and there was no changing my decision. I've forgiven her, but trust is something I can no longer extend. The divorce process took a couple of months and went uncontested. We divided our assets evenly, and since our children were grown, custody wasn't an issue. I won't delve into every detail, but it all transpired smoothly. I have to give her credit. She made it abundantly clear that her top priority was reuniting our family. There were moments when thoughts of Lisa crossed my mind, but that was due to the lingering love I held for her. We maintain contact, and everyone is content, including our children. Overall, we're all managing well, and the events of that fateful day are now firmly in the past, never to be revisited. Jake made a full recovery, and thanks to the months of physical therapy, he developed a habit of regular exercise. As for my own love life, I'm presently unattached but eagerly anticipating what the future holds. Regarding Donnie, he faced the consequences of his actions and the damage he inflicted on my family and marriage. His wife promptly kicked him out and served him divorce papers after Lisa confessed her indiscretions. He ended up in a small studio apartment. Following his termination, his attempts at dating were short-lived, as potential partners discovered his history of infidelity. I learned about his struggles through his ex-wife, who thought it might aid in the healing process after my wife's affair. I'm not sure how or why she reached out to me, but I appreciate her gesture. I once read a quote that goes, "Sometimes offering someone a second chance is like giving them an extra bullet after they missed you the first time, hoping that this time they'll use it wisely." Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Take care.